What's going on today, guys? Here's 5 things you did not know about going to jazz school. Number 1, you do not need to go to jazz school if you're going to be a jazz performer or if you aspire to be a jazz performer. Some people really do need to go to jazz school, but there's a lot of people that do not, especially if you're not in a financial place to be able to go to jazz school. A lot of people don't know this, and a lot of parents especially don't want their kids to go to jazz school, or a lot of parents especially do not want their kids to not go to school because you won't have a degree. But if you're very, very set and you know you want to be a jazz performer, you do not necessarily need to go to jazz school. All of the greats in jazz have not gone to jazz school at all, because jazz school did not exist at the time. Number 2, guys, is the people that you really want to study with will not be there as often as you think. All of the great jazz performers that you listen to on your records, that you aspire to be like, usually do not teach at schools as often as you think. I've had tons of friends at big jazz schools all across the country that have not studied with their professors as much as they would have hoped, because the professors are touring all the time, all around the world. I've had a lot of friends that have gotten 2 lessons when promised like 8. And this is a thing that a lot of people don't want to think about because they just really want to study with that one great person. But a lot of times that person won't be there at all. So this is definitely something you want to watch out for when you're going to jazz school. So number 3 is it is very difficult to introduce yourself to a jazz scene and do well in your classes at the same time. You can definitely take this from me. It is very difficult to keep up in your classes while being out late at night at jam sessions or at people's gigs. To be on a jazz scene, you need to go out to people's gigs and you need to go to jam sessions. But you also need to do well in your classes to be able to maintain your scholarship or stay at the school you're at. This is a hard thing to balance, so this is definitely something you want to plan out before you go to school and really decide where you're going to school based on this thing. If it's a jazz scene you want to be in, and if it's a school you want to be at. Number 4 seems kind of obvious, but you need to practice when you're going to jazz school. Practicing is often very overlooked, surprisingly, when you're going to a school like this. But when you become a jazz performer and you're touring, you're not going to have time to practice, especially if you're a bass player, drummer, piano player. If you're on the road, you can't really practice besides like a practice pad for a drummer. So get in your time practicing when you're in a school environment. You definitely won't regret practicing a lot. Number 5, and arguably the most important thing, do not go to jazz school without a scholarship. Almost none of my friends go to jazz school without a scholarship just because most of the big jazz schools are about $60,000 a year for tuition and housing. This is a ridiculous amount of money to have to pay entirely. And if you're anywhere near solid on your instrument, you should be getting a scholarship of some kind. Paying upwards of $200,000 over the 4 years that you're at a school is just ridiculous and will put you in so much debt you're probably going to be paying it off for the rest of your life. And it's probably not worth it being a jazz performer. So be very careful with how much money you're going to be putting towards school and make sure you plan this properly, because most of the time you're not going to be making as much money as you think. Now guys, I don't mean this video to be a downer, I just want to give you some things to think about before you're going to jazz school that I wish some people told me. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.